Good afternoon, House District 60, or at least it's afternoon when I'm recording this. I'm recording this right about midday on Friday, January 20th. We just finished up the third week of the short session, 2 more weeks to go. This week had a little bit more political undertone to it on the Senate side and on the House side. One of the bills that I've been talking about, Senate Bill 1599, which changes the initiative petition for the recall of the transportation package tax from November to May, was going to be third read, I believe, on Wednesday of this week. The Senate, that Wednesday afternoon, decided they were going to, take the afternoon off, thus shutting the process down just for that afternoon to get the Senate president and the minority leader in the same room to start discussing some things. So they did buy us a few days. Right now, it's, at midday on Friday the 20th. The Senate is back on the floor. They were back on the floor yesterday, and they are going to move Senate Bill 1599 over to the House. So that'll start a discussion on, what we need to do to support the voice of the Oregonians who signed that petition that wants that ballot measure to be on the November ballot. And we'll have to work through that, first part of the week. But in the House side, we also did slow things down a little bit. We didn't come out from lunch one day after caucus. We had a lot of bills on the floor, and it was purposeful. And it wasn't to blow the system up. It wasn't to create chaos, but it was to get our leader, Lucetta Elmer, and the speaker, Julie Fahey, in the room too, to talk about how we work through this building, how maybe we can slow down some of the bills or kill some of the bills we don't like, and to have at least a voice in this process. Because truly, the only tool that we have as the minority, besides collaboration, is slowing it down and denying quorum. I'm not very supportive of denying quorum. I think you know that. I've only had to do it in 2020. But you have to have the conversation. And we had the conversation, and some bills changed, some bills died, and we went back, and we never missed the floor, and we continued through the process. Just got off the floor today. We pretty much cleared all the House bills, and today is another work session deadline. So the bills that are being first read today that came from the Senate over to the House will be assigned to a committee today by the Speaker. And then the chairs or co-chairs, like Representative Helm and I, will get together and will assign a work session date to those bills. We have 3 bills coming over from the Senate that end up in the Ag Committee. We will assign them a public hearing and a work session for next week. Not positive that all of them will get worked, but at least they won't die. So I'll keep you updated on those 3 bills. One of them is a little bit contentious. The other 2 seem to be pretty benign. The one that's contentious is Senate Bill 1590. It, more of a posturing bill, I think, from our Senate Democrats about not allowing the government to be involved in any potential public land trades or sales. So I support public lands. I think public lands are a great thing in Oregon and the West, but there is time to do balanced trades where you're trying to block up private land, trying to block up public land. There's times when you should be selling, lots of public land because they might be better fit in a private situation and vice versa. So I don't want anything that would eliminate that ability to have some trades and some potential sales. But I'm not saying I support, big public land sales to the private. I don't. We have issues with our tax base because, in House District 60, it's darn near 70% public lands. So we need some flexibility. But that's a wrap up maybe just on the politics that occurred this week. Big bill coming on the House floor next week. It's the gun bill or the Measure 114 bill, House Bill 4145, which in my humble opinion is an end around to the legal process that is still going through on blocking Measure 114. Started in Harney County, the judge ruled that Measure 14 was unconstitutional. It is now working its way up to the Oregon Supreme Court. But my Democrat friends have decided that they want to, support legislation that calls out supporting Measure 114, basically. That's House Bill 4145. Supposed to be third read on the House floor Monday. I know the Senate has their eye on it too. So between the House and the Senate, we try to figure out how to work to make sure some of what we consider unfortunate bills from not making it through the building. So next week, also the budget should kick in more and more. There's been approximately 300 bills that have been introduced on the House and Senate this side, and I think 56 of them are waiting in Ways and Means. So one or two have been scheduled for a Ways and Means subcommittee. They have to go to a subcommittee before they can go to the full Ways and Means. But I expect our subcommittees on Ways and Means to start getting bills referred to them and start making it to the full Ways and Means by next Friday. We should have the budget reconciliation bill out next week. Things will start to pick up speed on the budget end. We only got 2 weeks left. Should be interesting to see where priorities end up. These budgets support the priorities that the parties have. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. So my two bills that we've talked about before, House Bill 4049, Volunteer Agreement Bill, is in Ways and Means, been referred to Ways and Means. I feel that it's going to be kicked out to the subcommittee here next week, and we'll work it through the process. We're still having discussions with the Water Resource Department, the Governor's Office on the memo and different things about that, but House Bill 4049 is definitely still alive and making it through the process. House Bill 4105, Predictable Harvest Level in State Forest Lands, is also sitting down in Ways and Means. Department of Justice hasn't put their erroneous fiscal on it yet, but I expect it to be tagged with it shortly. It's going to be a very, very heavy lift to get that bill out of Ways and Means. The other one, we're going to put a poll in our newsletter. So if you watch the video and don't typically read the newsletter, go back to the newsletter, because it's on House Bill 4002 on bill limits. So in 2023, over 5,400 bills were introduced to Legislative Council for drafting, and over 3,600 bills actually were dropped in the long session. Too many bills. I mean, as a representative, I feel obligated to want to read every bill that makes it across the House floor. Truth is, I can't. I can read every bill that goes through my committees, but I can't read every bill that goes through the House floor because it becomes way, way too many. So if I'm here full-time with staff, full-time, and we have a hard time keeping up with every bill, and we have to rely on others to provide us information, which is good. Everybody relies on others that they trust and respect to give them information on the bills that we can't work through ourselves and how to vote. How's the general public supposed to keep up? The system has flaws. I feel we should limit the amount of bills that can go through this building. I feel we should limit the amount of bills that the executive branch should have. In fact, I don't think the executive branch really should have any bills unless they get a legislator to sponsor them. That's probably not the bill that's going to come out. Not even sure a bill is going to come out. But go back to the newsletter. Please take a poll on, do you support bill limits? House Bill 4002. At least that's what it's drafted as right now. Hope you have a good weekend. I'm going to take off and go home and try to be home for 36 hours before I come back for week 4 of the short session. Be safe.